CONCACAF's World Cup qualifying octagonal wrapping up at the Estadio Nacional. The U.S. on the doorstep of the 2022 World Cup. A draw, a win, or even a loss by less than 6 would get it done. Contact in the box early will lead to just a goal kick for Zach Steffen. Costa Rica, a nation of just 5 million, trying to qualify for a 3rd consecutive World Cup finals. They are guaranteed of at least the Intercontinental playoff against New Zealand. Mathematically, still in the hunt for a direct ticket. Juan Pablo Vargas, who had won it back an earlier whistle from Fisher, it will lead to a USA free kick.
And Dre, the thing to note about this Costa Rican side, although they're lacking experience, you talked about a couple players making their debut for their country, another couple just picking up maybe their 2nd or 3rd cap. So they're lacking experience, but this is a hungry group. When you talk about having the opportunity to qualify for the World Cup, well, these players now are getting an opportunity to show why they should be on that roster if and when they do make that qualification. So the U.S. can't take them lightly. They're playing at home in front of their home fans as well. So there's always a point to prove with these kind of games. And we've seen how tricky going on the road in CONCACAF can be.
Burst of acceleration from Yunus Musa. Jedi Robinson flighted into the area. Well, it was Pepe who started that sequence for the Americans, and he was the target in the box. Keylor Navas, perhaps the best goalkeeper in CONCACAF history. A trio of Champions League trophies to his name. Fitting that he captains the Ticos. Surely you've heard by now of the USA's World Cup qualifying record away to Costa Rica. It did get a point, their first ever qualifier in San Jose. It was a 1-1 draw in 1985. Since then, only L's, the last 5 of which have been by 2 goals or more. It's raffled into the middle. In a battle, it's the Ticos on the front foot, and that pass left behind Ian Lawrence. Mentioned the youth of this Costa Rica side. Well, Brandon Aguilera, the 18-year-old, is making his international debut. So too is the aforementioned Carlos Mora. While Ian Lawrence played just a minute in his debut against El Salvador on Sunday. Makes his first start. This is Jedi Robinson. Costa. Does seem to be the preferred center back pairing for Greg Berhalter. Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson getting their 9th start together, and it's been fruitful for the United States. As Yedlin tries to squeeze in the cross. 9 starts between or combined for Zimmerman and Robinson. 7 wins and 1 draw. The scoreless draw at the Azteca.
And that's an example right there in that last sequence. And Charlie Davies talked about it a little bit in the pregame of how there will be space to exploit in some of these wide areas. If the U.S. can move the ball quickly, get some wide support from their fullbacks, Yedlin on the right-hand side and Anthony Robinson on that left.
Pulisic coming off of his first international hat-trick. Outswinger toward the penalty spot, and it's met, but with not enough power. A comfortable save for Navas. Martinez. You do tend to play with a 4-man backline on home soil, Costa Rica, but for this match with an experimental lineup, they've gone back to the 5-man defense. Chacon, Waston, and Vargas, the 3 central defenders. Carlos Martinez and Ian Lawrence, the wide men. There's Waston.
Yeah, with so many young players on the pitch, guys that haven't experienced many games in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, you want to have a pretty sound defensive base, give them a little bit more support. And
Aguilera. Flipped up for Lawrence, dealt with by Yedlin.
But in saying that, it's also a formation that they have experimented with before. They have played this formation during World Cup qualifying, as you see that last sequence there. And John Yedlin does a good job of stepping in front of Ian Lawrence on that left-hand side, who just drags him back to slow down the play.
Let's check in with our reporter pitchside. Jenny Chu is on the field for us. Jenny?
Dre, I don't think you guys saw it on the camera, but Tyler Adams went to the side, got a little bit sprayed on his knee, and it seems like he's having trouble. I now see Christian Roldan, Luca De La Torre, and James Sands warming up. Pretty early for a warm-up.
Thanks, Jenny. Tyler Adams has been absolutely crucial for the United States. Leader in recoveries, a player that sets the tempo for the Americans. A free kick awarded here for the U.S. Here's Adams looking not entirely comfortable.
I call him the heartbeat. You know, I'd say he's the heartbeat of this team. As he goes, this team goes. He sets the tone, he sets the tempo. You know, you talk about some of the bigger players on this team, guys that are have so much importance. He's one that, whether or not he's wearing the armband, his importance, his presence is always felt on the pitch.
There's Miles Robinson. Did we ever find out what shoes Greg Berhalter's wearing for tonight's match?
He didn't give us anything, man. He was being real secretive about it.
It's punched away by Keylor Navas. Tim Weah. Nearly a short counterattack for Tim Weah, and a welcome sight to see the Lille man back on the pitch. He's been one of the U.S.'s best performers over the last few games.
I like what he brings to this team. It's just a different dynamic. He's a player that really likes to be direct, whether that's taking the ball and being direct or just being willing to make some of those runs in behind, especially if you're playing.
Well, takes this one into stride. It's Weah on cue, and he wins a corner for the Americans.
But especially if you're playing with a forward and who has the profile of maybe a Jesus Ferreira who will drop it a little bit deeper, or sometimes Ricardo Pepi looks to link up play. You need willing runners from your wide positions to go and occupy that space, and Timothy Weah has shown that he's first class at that.
Tyler Adams still getting some attention. Second corner for the U.S. And an outswinger from Pulisic. This is promising for the Americans. It's blasted in and just held onto at the line by Keylor Navas. First real chance for the U.S. on their second set-piece opportunity.
And it's clipped to the back post. It beats everybody out. Miles Robinson does a good job. He just kind of fades away at that back post, catches it off the half volley. If it wasn't directly at Keylor Navas, he maybe finds himself a goal. He does well. Good power on it, but again, if it's just right at Keylor Navas, and he's able to do just enough to keep the U.S. off the score sheet.
He's yet to score in these qualifiers, Miles Robinson, but he did score the game winner against Mexico in the CONCACAF Gold Cup final last summer. Yedlin has to burst the lung to get there, and he won't. It's a new look for the Inter Miami man.
He's a fashion forward guy, man. I love it. I love it. But he also brings a level of experience to this U.S. team. You know, he's one of the guys himself, Kellen, Costa, Christian Pulisic, who were there when they had the disappointment those years back in Cuba and Trinidad. They've talked about that. They've learned from that.
This is promising now for Jewison, the 17-year-old. Pulled back deflected by Kellen Costa. Not quite cleared by the U.S. yet. And it's still on for Aguilera. Clipped in toward the back post. Chased down by Jedi Robinson. And he's not able to avoid the corner kick. It'll be Costa Rica's first. There's 4 players, Mo, to your point, on this roster that were there for that disappointment against Trinidad and Tobago. Pulisic, Yedlin, and Acosta all in the starting lineup. The other is Ariola, who was not able to train with the team yesterday and has been scrapped from the matchday squad. I think the wound is healed. If they punch their ticket today, there's no need to pick at the scabs. And swinger edge of this 6, and as usual, it's Walker Zimmerman manning his airspace. That's a hopeful shot that just sails over the crossbar from the central defender Daniel Chacon for Costa Rica.
Costa Rica just upped the tempo a little bit, winning some second balls in dangerous areas, forcing the issue a little bit. trying to keep the U.S. pinned back. See the high pressure now as the U.S. is trying to build out the back.
Robinson. Poked it loose. Kendall Waston, the wily veteran, got forward to win it back for the Ticos. Lawrence. Vargas. Pepe applying the pressure for Keylor Navas. And it worked.
Take a look at that last chance. It's not too far off. Stephen looked like he had it covered. And get another look at the chance here from Miles Robinson. Does well enough to put it into position so he can get the strike off. Catches it on the volley.
Seems to have gone for placement over power there, Miles Robinson. This intercepted by Zimmerman. Advantage played here after Zimmerman was fouled. This is Yedlin. Weah. Playing from memory, Timothy Weah. And Robinson not able to collect. So this is a look at the live table. Top three go directly to Qatar, fourth place, the Intercontinental playoff spot against New Zealand, who beat Solomon Islands 5-0 earlier today to claim that half spot for Oceania. Only Canada has clinched coming into this match day 14. A couple of avenues for Costa Rica to claim one of those three spots. They would either have to beat the U.S. by more than 5 goals or win, have Mexico lose at the Azteca to El Salvador and make up a goal difference of 4.
I'm glad you explained that instead of me.
This is Weah. Lovely ball in for Pepe. He stings the glove of Keylor Navas, who's been busy in the early going.
And that's really good link to play there. Timothy Weah combining well with Ricardo Pepi. Just makes that little run in behind. And for a number 9, someone who hasn't scored a goal in a while, he had Christian Pulisic. You see him making that late run across the ball, looking for a tap in there. But you can always guess that he's going to take that shot. It's a tough angle, but for a guy who hasn't scored in a while, if he gets into the penalty box, he's taking a shot on.
3 goals, 3 assists for Ricardo Pepi. Most of that was done early on. Pulisic. Waston is here to deal with the danger. It will be Yedlin to put the ball back in play. It's another area where they miss Weston McKennie and his long throws into the box. Yedlin will attempt to do the same. Perhaps not. Heavy touch by Zimmerman. The deflection does lead to another U.S. corner kick. It's a conveyor belt of corners in the first quarter of an hour. Driven in by Pulisic. Soft touch from Timothy Weah to settle it. This will be a throw for the Ticos. Give you an idea of just how difficult it is. Mo, you obviously know how difficult it is to win on the road in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, but the top 5 teams in this octagonal have a combined 1 home loss. It's Costa Rica in their home opener, 1-0 to Mexico on a penalty by Peralta. And that's it. With a promising approach for the Ticos. Smothered by Robinson. It's tireless. Jedi Robinson.
And it's good defending there. Robinson just being patient, not diving in, not biting too early. And to your point there, Dre, that just highlights the importance. We always talk so much about win your home games. Try to pick up a point on the road. That's how you get through World Cup qualifying. And the numbers that you just gave us there, that just reinforces how important those games are and how difficult it is to go on the road and pick up points.
Canada, USA, Mexico, and even eliminated Panama. 0 home defeats in the octagonal. It's a lovely turn. Less so on the pass. good look at Luis Fernando Suarez, a man who took Ecuador to the round of 16 in Germany 2006, the nation's best ever World Cup performance, followed by taking Honduras to the promised land as well. That was a group stage exit in Brazil 2014. They'll feel confident, Costa Rica, that Suarez can get a third national team to the world's biggest stage. They'll like their chances against New Zealand if it is the Intercontinental Playoff. I can't recall the last time I saw Walker Zimmerman lose an aerial duel.
I mean, himself and Miles Robinson, that duo has been really has been so strong through World Cup qualifying. Both of them have grown from game to game, individually, but also their partnership, their understanding.
Ball given away to Weah. Quick reaction by Tim Weah. Flying past his marker Lawrence and running out of real estate. One back by Yedlin. Musa just tripped up from behind. It is a late whistle. And the U.S. with another set-piece opportunity. This one from a decent angle.
He's just so smooth, Yunus Musa. Little subtle body feint is enough to get that little bit of leeway, that little bit of separation between himself and Orlando Gallo there, who recognizes that he's beat. There's a little bit of space in front of him, just drags him down. Now a set-piece opportunity from a good 25 yards out.
Gallo, who's played against the U.S. at the under-20 level, he played right back against him in the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship in 2018, going up against the likes of Serginho Dest and Mark McKenzie. Now a defensive midfielder by trade. It's Kellen and Costa standing over the ball. Adams. Well, it is good to see that Adams did not have to be replaced. Musa. Costa. A little slack on the pass. It's taken back by Carlos Martinez. Winning the year by Miles Robinson. And it's Robinson who's whistled for the foul.
He can't let that first one bounce. I know he thinks that he has a little bit more time than he maybe actually does, Miles Robinson. He does well to try to deal with that first fire, but if you just put that ball out of bounds, maybe with the first header, doesn't allow the attacker to now regain possession, have some space and get at you. Contreras does really well here with a little nutmeg. And forces Miles Robinson to drag him down.
Joel Campbell would typically line up at that center forward spot for Costa Rica. He's one of the players who is one yellow away from suspension, so Contreras filling in that role. Low driven cross at the near post. Tyler Adams was there to deal with it. Here was pass playing out of the back by Tim Weah. And Costa Rica have a throw in U.S. territory.
U.S. have to be a little bit sharper with the ball. A lot of unforced turnovers, a little bit sloppy at times. And Costa Rica, they're pressing a little bit higher than maybe anticipated and putting the U.S. in some tough situations, picking off passes higher up the pitch, playing with the level of intensity, trying to get this man here, Jewison on the ball.
Jewison working against Yedlin. Again, it's fresh legs for Costa Rica. 7 changes from the win over El Salvador in San Salvador. Poked loose. There's Pepe. Musa not quite able to bring that under his control, and Miles Robinson draws the foul. It's a free kick for the Americans. Here's Walker Zimmerman. Miles Robinson. Anthony Robinson. How quickly the Americans get into that final third as there was contact and Drew Fisher didn't see a foul in it. Robinson stops the progress of Costa Rica.
That was a great challenge there. And Christian Pulisic is maybe a little bit unlucky not to get the foul there when he goes 1v1 with Kendall Watson, but here he is on the ball again.
Pulisic, Robinson. Robinson creates more chances than any other U.S. player, and that's a huge weapon to have at the fullback slot.
His growth has been incredible. I think he's become the best left back in CONCACAF. That is, if Alphonso Davies playing a little bit more advanced.
I was about to ask. Uriel Antuna has scored for Mexico now. They lead against El Salvador at the Azteca. This is Yedlin. Teenager Jefferson Bennett.
Just had to clarify that really quickly. But his growth has been incredible. I mean, you heard the guys, you heard Clint talking about that in the pregame, how he's a willing attacker getting forward into the final third, but now it's about how he executes with the delivery, picking out passes, the quality of his service into the box. It's become a real asset for this U.S. national team.
Just over 20 minutes gone in San Jose. It's Costa Rica nil, USA nil. And yet another corner for the Americans. Pulisic outswinger. Dropped in back post. Miles Robinson is there. Could not get his header down. Navas is quick to put it back in play.
It's just well done.
And Tyler Adams tripped up from behind, and he has drawn the referee's whistle.
Tyler Adams doing Tyler Adams things, doing the dirty work as he's holding off his defender, still has the poise to, be clever enough to shield the ball, draw a little bit of contact there. In what looked like it could have been a potentially really threatening opportunity, Keylor Navas trying to spring his attacker through in transition. This man just puts out so many fires for the United States.
Pepe. Pulisic, once again spotting the run of Robinson. He's got options in the area, Tim Weah among them. Pass was played just behind Weah, difficult to control.
DeAndre Yedlin was making that late run. If he could have maybe called off the touch there of Tim Weah, he's in a great position to take that strike on.
Aguilera. He spotted Keylor Costa just in front. It's Costa who's whistled for the foul.
And this is that last foul, but the play before this, it's such a good play in the way that the play is developed. It starts from deep. Tyler Adams playing an entry ball in. Doesn't really come off for Pepe, but he stays with the play, and that allows him to now find Christian Pulisic, changes the point of attack, and you see how the U.S. can get their fullbacks and get some width into the attack.
Contreras. Costa. It's Costa Rica who switched the point of attack to find Jefferson on the near side. Jefferson inviting Weah to dance. This is Lawrence. Aguilera rolls it all the way back for Vargas. Waston. Trying to gain a little control in possession here, Costa Rica. And it's done well to find Ian Lawrence over the top. Yedlin picks his pocket. It's a nice touch by DeAndre Yedlin. Jefferson given space and time to deliver across. Gallo. Catapulted into the area. Contreras in the battle with Zimmerman, and Walker will win most of those. Well, he hasn't had to touch the ball too much, Zach Steffen, and that's a good sign for the U.S. Less so for Luis Fernando Suarez's Ticos.
And looking at Costa Rica's setup, they seem to have settled more into a 4-3-3, with Chacon moving into midfield alongside Gallo. and Aguilera having the freedom to be maybe push a little bit higher at times up alongside Contreras.
Aguilera is a teammate of Contreras at the club level, both on loan to Guanacasteca in Costa Rica. He can play as a deep line playmaker, as he lined up at the start of this contest, but also as a number 10 when in defense, 4-4-2 alongside the likes of Contreras.
And you see the shape right there. That's a good illustration of it right there. Actually looking like a 4-4-2, which Costa Rica has played quite a bit at home throughout this qualifying campaign. Contreras staying high as the number 9, and again, Chacon playing a lot higher alongside him.
This will be a throw for the Americans, DeAndre Yedlin, to put the ball back in play. Final round of the World Cup qualifying octagonal. Nothing less than a ticket to Qatar 2022 on the line. The scenario again, win or draw the U.S. is through, lose by 5 goals or less would still be enough for the Americans. It's just Aguilera getting forward now. As he turns Kevin Costa around. And Robinson on alert. Is Anthony Robinson turning defense into attack. It's a kind bounce for the Americans. This is Pepe with his back to goal. Now Musa. Adams. Robinson. Lifted into a crowded 18. It was Kendall Waston there to deal with the danger.
It's just incredible energy levels from Anthony Robinson there to spring forward into attack, turning defending into attack. He reads the play so well, and then he's off to the races. Didn't have many numbers to support him. That slows the play down just a little bit. But the U.S. just looking to find moments when they can spring in transition and take advantage of the space in behind this Costa Rican back line.
50 games in charge for Greg Berhalter, the former U.S. international turned coach. He's got the highest win percentage of any U.S. coach in team history, considering draws as a half a win. Just over 76%. Another look at Pulisic, fouled by Chacon.
He's asking for a card. I mean, he's getting dragged down there. He's catching the ball in a half turn. Good little pocket that he found. And Chacon recognizing the danger. Little tug on the jersey. But it's been a scrappy game, and you should expect that. Costa Rica is not going to give up anything easy. They're playing at home in front of their home fans. This game has a lot of meaning for some of these younger players, trying to show their importance to the team, why they should potentially be on the plane to go to Qatar if and when they do qualify. So this game was always going to have a level of edge, a level of bite as well.
Again, Mora and Lawrence. Rather, Mora and Aguilera making their international debuts in this match, while Lawrence and Carlos Martinez debuted at the weekend against El Salvador, playing just a handful of minutes off the bench. It's wonderful by Musa to get away from his marker. It's right idea looking for Timothy Weah. The U.S. stretched out a bit. Jewison. Players arriving in the area. Jewison creates space. Miles Robinson is there to set up the roadblock.
Jewison's been good. He's found himself in some decent areas. He can maybe receive the ball higher up the pitch.
But it has stayed up. So is Jewison.
Because you see what he can do when he gets into the final third. Skillful player, quick, good first step. He's been receiving the ball a lot deeper, but the one opportunity where he gets it and he has an opportunity to go 1v1 with DeAndre Yedlin, just wrong foots him for a second, and that's enough to get a decent ball into the box that the U.S. has to scramble to deal with.
Possession has been split just in the USA's direction, 54% for the Americans. Musa not able to bring it under control. It's won back by Zimmerman. Captain Zimmerman tonight. Did inherit the captain's armband against Mexico after both Tyler Adams and Christian Pulisic wore it. That turned into a bit of a mess for Keylor Navas, who could not take any chances. Just tipped it over, and it does lead to a USA corner.
They've had a lot of corner kicks so far in this first half, the U.S., but they have to find a way to try to capitalize on it, whether it's starting with the service or, you know, maybe setting a pick to get yourself a little bit of leverage and get a good run at the ball. And this is just an awkward attempt. Complete miss hit here by Anthony Robinson. Keylor Navas just forced to play that.
It's the 6th corner kick for the U.S. More often than not, it's been Robinson the intended target on these. Outswinger Pulisic again toward the spot. It's on a doorstep for a Costa. Into a crowd. Broken up and had to be, as Costa Rica were threatening on the counter. Strong header back to Stefan. And it's Yedlin to restart possession for the U.S. Pulisic now on the near side. It's closed down very quickly by Daniel Chacon.
That's a couple challenges now.
Chacon in particular.
Yeah, where he's lining him up. He's waiting for him to take a touch, and then the ball's played. He does make contact with the ball, but you see how he just follows through, just making sure Christian Pulisic knows he's in for a tough game and being physical, trying to put some bodies on him.
Rather than a third center back, Chacon is playing as a defensive midfielder. And alongside Gallo. It's allowed Aguilera to get forward for Costa Rica alongside his club teammate Contreras. Here's Musa. Yedlin. Pulisic keeps it alive. It's Yedlin in a foot race. Yedlin delivers. Now it's whistled for a USA free kick.
And that's good by the referee. He tried to let the play continue. There was an advantage, but recognizing when the play was killed off, he's whistled it back. And, you know, there might be a shout for a yellow card now at some point. That's the 3rd foul in succession from Chacon on Christian Pulisic.
Yellow card is a 4-letter word for Costa Rica, considering the 9 players on a yellow, only one of which, again, starting, and it's Jewison. 3 not even risked to the bench. Celso Borges, Calvo, and Fuller did not dress for this match. All 3 are 1 yellow away from suspension. And had they played and picked up a yellow, would not be available against New Zealand. Driven in by Christian Pulisic. Pounced on by Tyler Adams. Robinson. Zimmerman. Miles Robinson. As Pepe commits the foul.
It's just Pepe doing some dirty work, trying to win back possession. It might turn out to actually not be the worst foul, giving his teammates now a chance to get back in position. We just saw center back to center back headers and their own attacking 18.
Aguilera weaving his way through. It's Contreras on the end of the through ball now, waiting for help to arrive. Aguilera. Gallo. This is Mora. Promising spell of possession here for the Ticos. Into the 6, it's Yedlin who deals with the danger. Sent away by Weah. A shot from distance took a little deflection, would have made it tougher for Stefan. He's there to collect.
Aguilera's been good. He's been lively there in that midfield, finding little small gaps to try to play between the trio of the United States. It's his 2nd shot now that he's had from distance. It ends up being a comfortable save. But he's found a little bit of joy in those half spaces. Himself combining with the likes of Gallo, Chacon, and then trying to find Contreras.
Here's Miles Robinson.
But for a guy who's 18-year-old making his debut in a big World Cup qualifier, I think he's looked the part.
It's intended for Timothy Weah, who can slot into that center forward spot. Ten minutes to play in this opening half. More your impressions of what you've seen so far?
It's been scrappy games, a little bit sloppy in times of possession at times. The U.S. have tried to carve out some half chances, but just hasn't been enough quality to produce a real significant chance. But Costa Rica, give credit to them. They've come out, they've competed, they've made this game ugly at times. They put in fouls, daring the referee to try to make a decision and start handing out some yellow cards. But this U.S. team, I think they're going to learn from this. There's probably some heavy legs, some tired legs. A lot of guys have played significant minutes, and that's another challenge that Christian Pulisic is getting thrown into the mix there.
Giving as well as he gets, particularly with Chacon.
We saw angry Christian Pulisic last game, and you saw what that ended up. So I want them to get him fired up. We know what he can produce for this U.S. team.
Aguilera, Robinson leaps out of the tall grass to win it back. Pulisic slithering his way forward. Robinson. Costa. They're showing patience in possession here. Costa Rica content to keep men behind the ball.
But with this patience, they got to just make sure that they make the ball do the work. Keep moving the ball, keep shifting this Costa Rica midfield. Try to keep finding those little windows, and when the window's on, you got to play the ball quickly. Don't take too many luxury touches. That allows them to reshape and get themselves close to the ball, make a challenge, get a foot in.
Combined 11 shots so far in this opening half, 7 for the United States, and the closest either side has come to scoring was Miles Robinson's shot from a corner kick. It's denied by Keylor Navas. Meanwhile, Mexico continues to lead 1-0 in El Salvador, and as things stand, Canada, USA, and Mexico direct to Qatar. Blasted away by Stefan. Jewison. Quick acceleration to get beyond the reach of Yedlin. Boston. This is Gallo in traffic, swarmed on by Pepe and Costa.
It's a good step there, but just a little miscommunication in the next line of press allows Costa Rica to now get out of it.
It's Martinez. Mora. Despite the capacity crowd, the stadium just quiet enough for us to hear some of the pitch side instructions from Greg Berhalter and his coaching staff. Asking the U.S. to get into their shape. Zimmerman straight to Contreras. Driving forward, Contreras, a little deflection will take it out for a Costa Rica corner.
That second ball, it's so important. Normally that's the area that Tyler Adams is in and clean up things, and the one time that he gets caught out there a little bit. Contreras is clever, drops a little bit deeper, finds that little space. He's able to earn a corner kick for his side.
So it's the debutant, Brandon Aguilera, over to take. Outswinger, Stefan punching it away. Martinez. It's interesting, Carlos Martinez playing as a right wing back at times. So right-footed left wing back for his club side, San Carlos, in the Costa Rican Primera. It's another player that faced the United States at the under-20 level in that CONCACAF U18 championship that occasion, he was lined up on the same flank as Serginho Dest. U.S. going on to win that tournament, beating Mexico in the final. Pepe. You know, the goals have been hard to come by lately for Ricardo Pepi since the move to German football, but what does he bring to the 11 other than what a striker is supposed to do to score goals?
Well, I think he has pretty good movement, and he's a player that's profile allows him to sometimes stretch that back line, get in behind, picks and chooses his moment when to drop deep and link up play. But I think once he does link up play, he always has the willingness to now try to continue things and get back into the box.
Musa using his body well to shield the ball. Flighted in for Timothy Weah. Just failed to connect.
That's a great look there.
Looks so natural in possession, Yunus Musa, as if he was born with the ball at his feet.
Just so smooth. He does so well to get to the end line there and just misses out. Timothy Weah has come inside from that wide position. But just the little details there. That's where the U.S. has done well to get into that final third, but maybe it's just the final ball or the final decision. You go back to you talking about Ricardo Pepi there. You know, the best chance that he's had in this first half is the shot that he forces a save out of Keylor Navas, but maybe the better option is to just slide that across for the tap-in for Christian Pulisic. But again, a man who hasn't scored in a while, has a number 9. When you get that kind of chance, it's more than likely you're taking that on.
First to Musa, Greg Berhalter admitted he was hesitant to start him at the CONCACAF Nations League last summer, felt it was a little too soon. He was still getting acclimated to the team, and well, now he's one of the first names on the team sheet. Weah driving forward now, tripped up from behind, and the U.S. with another promising free kick coming up.
It's about the same range that we saw earlier in the first half. The Kellyn Costa had the strike on goal, and it's Timothy Weah just picking the ball up, driving at the back line, forcing them to make a decision, and it's Gallo tracking back. Maybe he doesn't have to be so aggressive in this challenge as he has 2 defenders that Timothy Weah is running at, and Kendall Waston you see there. This one actually looks like it's a little bit deeper than the attempt that Kellyn Costa had earlier.
Navas lining up his wall. Costa's already had one rehearsal from this range. Costa driven in, just skims off the top of the wall, and yet another corner kick for the U.S. This will be their 7th. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all of their corners have been from this near side.
And because of that, they're all outswingers with Christian Pulisic on the ball. So the timing of your run has to be spot on.
Driven in by Pulisic. Kept alive by Costa. Berhalter admitting in his pregame press conference that U.S. may be a little either overconfident or naive at the start of these World Cup qualifiers. Said they got kicked in the teeth in that first window. Grown by enormous strides, and to the extent how important was that draw at the Azteca, making this match much more comfortable, confident, as opposed to having to get at least a draw.
I'd say a good word for it is manageable. And yeah, I think that's to be expected. Greg Berhalter's assessment of this group. A lot of young players, guys that haven't gone through World Cup qualifying, minus a couple. And so you come off a really, really high in the summer where you've beaten your rival in two tournaments to win 2 trophies. You're setting all these records, a lot of praise coming your way. So naturally you go into qualifying thinking that you can do the unthinkable. But through this process, I think they've grown. Greg Berhalter has grown. And now we're starting to bear the fruits of the labor of what this team can be. If there's still
bossing the midfield.
If there's still room for improvement, of course.
Weah to this near side. Weah. That's a lovely tackle by Chacon to dispossess Timothy Weah, and then commits the foul. Nothing whistled. It's going to be a throw for the U.S.
He's been everywhere, Chacon. Been involved in quite a few challenges. Does really well there to keep his feet because Timothy Weah is a pacey player, but he does so well with the timing on the first challenge. Look at his celebration. on the second challenge as well.
Well, there's the halftime whistle. It's 0-0 in San Jose. The U.S. tied at the break in Costa Rica for the first time since 1992. The Ticos had led at the half in the 8 previous home qualifiers. All to play for in the second half. And by all, I mean a ticket to Qatar 2022. We're back after this.
Stuff. We love stuff. And there's some really great stuff out there. But I doubt that any of us will look back on our lives and think, I wish I'd bought an even thinner TV. Found a lighter light beer. Or had an even smarter smartphone. Do you think any of us will look back in our lives and regret the things we didn't buy? Or the places we didn't go?
This is the feeling of certainty. The feeling that comes from knowing you're inspiring your customers, uniting your team, recognizing achievements, and expressing heartfelt thank yous with promotional products people use and love from the experts at 4imprint, your partners in creating special moments and memories by making people smile. Enjoy that feeling of certainty with promotional products at 4imprint.com. 4imprint, for certain.
Why do nearly 1 million businesses choose Stamps.com to mail and ship? No more trips to the post office. No more paying full price for postage. And great rates from USPS and UPS. Mail letters. Ship packages. Anytime, anywhere. For less. A lot less. Get our special TV offer. A 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale. Go to Stamps.com/try and never go to the post office again.
Here's to the spatially challenged, the nearsighted and the far. Here's to the sense of directionless, to the dingers, denters, and that should buff right outers. At Good to Go, we see you and know that accidents happen. Good to Go is here to give you auto insurance when others won't. For as little as $20 down and low monthly payments, Good to Go makes it easy to get approved, insured, and back on the road fast. Get the coverage you need, instant proof of insurance, and be on your way. Just promise you won't drive too fast. When others say no, we say you're good to go. Visit goodtogo.com.
All right, very warm welcome back to the Verizon Halftime Report on CBS Sports. Fantastic to have you with us here in the studio. Kate Abdo-Gucci Onyewu, Clint Dempsey, Charlie Davies. Charlie, give me your thoughts then on the first half of play in there.
It was a little bit of back and forth. I like that the U.S. had possession. They were connecting passes. I think 86% was, or around 80% was the success rate of the passes. So for me, I think they got to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. I saw a lot of positives from Timothy Weah. I think Yunus Musa dribbling out of pressure. But again, I think I need to see a little bit more chemistry in the final third.
I think they're doing all right, but I'm going to give credit to this Costa Rica side, who is not their best players. They've been creating a couple good chances. I think they're missing a really prolific number 9 today. I think if they had a number 9 to go to, they would have more opportunities. But I think the game, like you said, it's evenly balanced right now, and it's just going to be the first team to kind of concede a mistake and get that goal.
I agree with Gooch. Even though that they made a lot of changes, there hasn't been a great drop-off from Costa Rica. They're still in this game, but also like you talked about, it's kind of a stalemate, right? It's a weird situation going into the game where they have to, like, climb a mountain, win 6-0 to do this crazy upset, but at the same time, we're trying to manage the game in the right way. It's kind of crying for some quality.
Why does the U.S. have to
service.
manage the game, though? Why don't you go in flying in a game like this?
Well, the thing is, yeah, you want to be on the front foot and you want to be trying to get a goal, but the last thing you want to do is concede, because then the stadium gets behind them even more. You start feeling that little pressure of, like, what if they pull off this crazy upset and stuff like that. But we need more quality. We need better service, and we need someone to come on and change the game. And maybe second half we'll see that from Gio.
I would say that it was almost as if the team could feel that tired legs. They were heavy legs. Costa Rican side, it's a lot of youthful exuberance, right? Everyone's excited. Everyone's getting a chance trying to prove a point so that they can play in that interconfederational playoff game against New Zealand. So everyone's trying to play for minutes, while this U.S. team is saying, hey, let's just keep possession, let's get into a rhythm. A 1-0 win, it's fantastic. The main goal for them is just to win.
I mean, they're gonna make history if they win, regardless, right? 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, whatever. I think in a lot of situations they need to play quicker. I think we spoke earlier during the game that Christian just needs to release the ball. He doesn't need to hold on so much. He's going to get hit, and the last thing we need is him to get injured at this moment. Give and go, make runs into spaces, get opportunities, find Pepe in the middle. Timothy Weah has been doing really good in his vertical movement and getting those crosses off because his speed and his athleticism is going to help the U.S. So I think if they can just play their game, keep the movement off the ball, they're going to get their opportunities.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first half presented to you by Verizon. Here we go, Clint.
Yeah, this is a good set piece here, going up for it. Gets a good first touch by Miles Robertson. Hits a good strike at the goal. Navas a little unsure with it, but was able to make the save. But, yeah, a good chance for us.
I like a defender over there with a volley.
Exactly, and he kept it on goal. Here, Yedlin plays it right to Pepe, good hold-up play, and then he continues the movement. Nice weighted pass from Timothy Weah. Now, he could play it in for Christian Pulisic. You see Christian making a good run, but he's a striker. He's starving for goals. He's trying to get going, so I'm okay with that shot, and it's on target, forced to corner.
Opportunities we have right here. Musa turns it over, and I was telling you, unforced errors right there in transition. Costa Rica, they're pushing, they're trying to get opportunities. As I said, right here, you take him one-on-one. Maybe in another day he gets the cross on the feet, but right here, these are the fires that we just have to eliminate and the unforced errors that they have to just get rid of in the U.S. lineup.
Okay, so wiping onto the stats for you. Whip out your calculator, Clint. I don't know. What story does that tell you?
It says that it's been a stalemate. I mean, yeah, we've had a little bit more possession than them. That's good because we're playing away from home. We've had 7 corners. Maybe you'd like to see 1 or 2 better chances on those set pieces. Some of the delivery has been bad and some of the service when we got into dangerous areas hasn't been there. The game is crying out for a little bit more quality, and hopefully we see that in the second half.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we are going to be right back after this for you. You are watching the Verizon Halftime Report on CBS Sports. Huge numbers of fans all around the country gathering to watch this game. We'll be right back with you in just a moment.
Witness the rise of the Northmen. A traitor stole my kingdom. I will burn his world to the ground. By the hand that killed your father, you will die. At the gates of hell you will find me.
The Northmen, the legend begins. Rated R.
If you really want to find out what you're made of, you can forget the personality tests and social media quizzes. Because the only way you're ever going to know is by heading into the big, wild, raging, so damn beautiful it hurts world and finding out for yourself. Were you born to follow a path, or were you born free? These are the things we thought about when we made the new Grand Cherokee. Made for what you're made of.
Hi, I'm Lily from AT&T.
Okay.
No offense to your old phone, but do you know that you can trade a Galaxy in any year, any condition for a brand new, shiny, free Samsung Galaxy S22?
Oh, so you can just swap things out now?
Yeah, and it turns out the new one's even better, with the same quirky charm.
Come on, so where's the real Lily?
What?
Lily?
Oh, what does that say?
That's a name tag.
I'm AT&T's Lily.
Real Lily?
Get a free Samsung Galaxy S22 with a Galaxy trade-in. Any year, any condition, even in the madness of March.
The
Men's CONCACAF World Cup qualifying ends today, but in July it is the women's turn. The United States kick off their quest for a third straight Women's World Cup title in Monterrey, Mexico. The expanded 2023 World Cup field from 24 to 32 sees 4 teams from CONCACAF automatically qualify for Australia and New Zealand, with the 5th place winner getting a playoff spot. It is the CONCACAF W Championship, July 4th through the 18th, and you can stream every single game live only on Paramount+. And we should also note that today in Barcelona, a world record 91,553 fans watched the El Clasico with Real Madrid. Barca winning 5-2 to complete an 8-3 aggregate win and advance to the Women's Champions League semi-finals. What a crowd. That's incredible. Meanwhile, let's take you over to another crowd standing behind Jenny Chu, who's over there in Costa Rica for us. Jenny, your thoughts on that first half, or looking ahead to the second half, whichever way you want to take it?
Costa Rica came to play. You know, these are fringe players. 8 of them are single-capped players that are trying to prove a point. You know, Contreras has been a handful. Bennett has been active. The entire U.S. back line has been busy. But they've remained calm. They've remained composed and patient. And they're going to need to have that in the second half as well. I will note I've seen Luca De La Torre all halftime being the only U.S. player warming up. I'm assuming that is an incoming sub. I will confirm who that substitute is with you as soon as I know. I'm going to assume it's Tyler Adams if that knock did affect him more than we thought at the beginning of the match.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. So listen, we've talked about where you feel like there's areas that need to be improved, Clint. Charlie, what are you hoping to see differently?
Just more service, more, I think, effort. There was like a lack of excitement and energy from this group. You're playing for a chance to win, be the first team to win in Costa Rica. You're coming off an incredible result against Panama and an impressive result in Mexico. Keep it going. It seems like it's a little stale for me.
Is it hard to be mentally in the right place when you know that all you have to do is not lose 6-0?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a weird game, right? Because you go into a situation where, all right, you qualify for the World Cup, just don't lose by 6 goals, and then the other team is like made some subs, and you're trying to like finish strong, and you got people that have played 3 games in a short window, legs may be a little bit tired, but still we have everything to play for. We're at halftime is 0-0. We've had more possession away from home than Costa Rica, and like I said, the game's crying out for a little bit more quality. Maybe we see that in Gio in the second half.
I think mentally they just got to get into it. I mean, they're the better team through and through. Obviously, like Jenny said, there's a number of Costa Rican players that are sitting on 1 cap for their country. So you can't say that our starting lineup right now is not superior to the Costa Rican lineup right now. I think if they enter that second half with the understanding, hey, we got to wake up. We were sleeping for 45 minutes. We can do a lot better. We can make history today. We can score. We can go home and solidify the fact that we qualified. I think we're going to have a good end to this game.
Did you get a workout in this morning? Just wondering.
Do I have too much energy?
No, because we've not talked about it on air yet. No, it's not about your energy. It's about the fact that we have a big arm wrestle coming out today. Michael Richards.
That's why he's yelling like this. That's why he's projecting like this every time he talks. You know me,
my voice went through puberty. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. 50 years ago.
All right, listen, we'll be right back after this. You're watching the Verizon Halftime Report on CBS Sports. See you in a second.
As San Diego takes on Angel City in the 2022 NWSL Challenge Cup, Saturday on CBS.
Stuff. We love stuff, and there's some really great stuff out there. But I doubt that any of us will look back on our lives and think, I wish I'd bought an even thinner TV, found a lighter light beer, or had an even smarter smartphone. Do you think any of us will look back in our lives and regret the things we didn't buy? Or the places we didn't go?
There's only one way to catch all the Europa League action at once.
Watch every goal from every match. The Golazo Show on CBS Sports Network.
Well, kickoff in the second half is now just moments away. Let's take you straight back out to our team calling the game for you over in the building, over the street. Sorry, they're not in Costa Rica. I was going to say in Costa Rica. Drake Cordero and Mo Adu.
Thanks so much, Kate. As we see a substitution coming in, it's going to be Luca de la Torre stepping in as the first change for Greg Berhalter. Tyler Adams makes way as the ball rolls on this second half. 3,123 days since the U.S. last qualified for a World Cup. Now just 45 minutes away from the world's biggest stage. 0-0 in the opening half. Mo, who stood out for you in that first 45?
I'm actually going to give some credit to a couple of Costa Rican players. You have a 17-year-old in Jevison getting his fourth cap, and he looked like an experienced player, confident, willing to get on the ball and try to create in dangerous areas. And this man here, who's actually coming into contact there with DeAndre Yedlin, Aguilera, making his debut for his national team in a massive game. You heard the guys in the studio talking about this is an opportunity for some of these players to show not only that they deserve to be on the roster potentially going forward, but more importantly, to play a role in that playoff game that will get them a berth into the World Cup.
So with Tyler Adams exiting the match, Luca de la Torre impressed at the weekend in that midfield, and we'll see Kellyn Acosta slot back into that defensive midfield role. Musa and de la Torre just in front of him. Some concern here after that collision with DeAndre Yedlin. Apparently he shares a barber with Keylor Navas. And it's the aforementioned Aguilera who needs a little bit of treatment. Previously uncapped. Stepping into a massive moment for Costa Rica. Worth repeating, it's a nation of just 5 million people, Costa Rica, and trying to qualify for a third consecutive World Cup finals. The U.S. had gone to 7 straight before Russia 2018. They're oh so close to capping off a historic night in San Jose. First touches for De La Torre. Slack pass intended for Kellyn Acosta. It's cleaned up by De La Torre himself. So for the U.S., a back four of Yedlin, Zimmerman, Robinson, and Robinson in front of Stefan. De La Torre, Musa, and Acosta, the midfield triangle. Weah, Pulisic, and Pepe, the attacking trio. And it's Pulisic who once again on the receiving end of the foul, this time by Gallo.
And it's Pulisic just, every time he touches the ball, there's at least two guys trying to get close to him, put a body on him. They keep getting these set pieces, so this is all about just quality service into the ball, into the box, excuse me.
There is quality service, and it's punched away by Keylor Navas, still alive for the U.S. Pepe back into the middle. It's Weah, Tim Weah! Cleared off the line, followed up Zimmerman. Well, a trio of chances and some energy to start this second half. Navas in a bit of help, keeping it 0-0.
And this time the U.S. comes so close to capitalizing on all these set pieces that Costa Rica's been giving up. Starts with a good delivery in the ball, good whipped-in ball, in-swinging ball. Miles Robinson rises high. We know he's capable of scoring goals from set pieces. It's met by Keylor Navas. U.S. do a good job of keeping the ball circulating around, getting it back into the box. It's a half chance from Timothy Weah that's saved off the goal line. In the end, it's Walker Zimmerman who puts it over the crossbar, but a good start to the second half here by the U.S.
And there's that double espresso that this match needed. A couple of chances to test Keylor Navas and the Costa Rican defense.
But that's the best approach. If you're going to keep suffering these fouls in relatively dangerous areas, then you have to make the most of them. And this time the U.S. come close to capitalizing with the center back, Miles Robinson, stepping up to make the initial header.
It's one back by De La Torre. Heard Clint and Charlie and Gooch during the halftime show calling for a little bit more creativity, and maybe had a direct line to Greg Berhalter bringing in De La Torre to try and provide it.
But beyond the creativity, because I think there was glimpses of that in the first half, but it's just that quality that was lacking. Whether it's the final pass to finish off a play, or just being a little bit slack, a little bit careless with the way that they move the ball in midfield and turning it over in dangerous areas.
Lapse in concentration, sees the Ball turned over to Costa Rica for a throw. DeAndre Yedlin, who did start the match against Mexico, one of the real veterans on this young USA team. Shaq Moore brought in to back him up after Reggie Cannon tested positive for COVID in Mexico. He returned and rejoined the squad in San Jose, but did not dress for this match. And so Yedlin repeating in the starting 11. It's Ian Lawrence to put it back in play. Jewison. Bit of magic from young Jewison. You forget he's 17 years old. Football very much in his genes. His father, also named Jewison, his uncle Trey, both former Costa Rica internationals. And despite all that experience in the family, his family broke down in tears when they saw him debut against El Salvador last August. He's got a bit of magic in his boots.
He's got a lot of confidence. He's got magic, but when he has confidence, you combine the two of those, that's when special things can happen.
It's the baby Ticos. It's so many young players out there for Costa Rica, including Aguilera standing over the ball. Nice swinger to the penalty spot, and Costa Rica break through. It's the U.S. who have had so many set-piece opportunities, but it's the Ticos who make theirs count. Early in the second half, it's Costa Rica 1, USA 0. And is that the start of something improbable for the Central Americans?
Costa Rica haven't scored a ton of goals through qualifying. This just being their 12th goal in 14 games, but it's just a really well played in ball there from the set piece, from the corner kick. Aguilera, good weight on the ball, and then the timing of the run. Juan Pablo Vargas, he almost has a free run at it here. His timing is great. He rises high, rises early, out jumps Zimmerman, just has enough power on this. Not too far into the corner, not too far from Zach Steffen, but it's the power that he puts on the ball that is enough to beat Zach Steffen and put his side ahead after what was a pretty promising start to the second half by the U.S. And now the question for them is, how do they respond? How do they react? But what a massive goal for Vargas in front of his home fans here.
Walker Zimmerman is typically a one-man anti-air defense system. He wins most of the aerial duels that he faces. He loses this one. It's a costly one as Costa Rica take the lead. And it's the first World Cup qualifying goal for Juan Pablo Vargas. The U.S. looking for a response. The Americans will have a throw. It's the third corner kick of the match for Costa Rica, punctuated by a goal. Musa. Chacons taking it back. You can just see them a little more swagger now, Costa Rica, after seeing the ball go into the back of the net. Here's Miles Robinson. For the U.S., a taste of their own medicine, typically so good both in attack and in defending set pieces. Does not change the math too much as of yet. It would need 5 more goals, Costa Rica, to leapfrog the U.S. into a direct qualifying spot. The other result that they would need was a Mexico loss, and Mexico currently ahead of El Salvador 2-0. Goals by Antuna and Jimenez at the Azteca.
And you're right, Dre. Bigger picture, this result, if this result were to hold like this, the U.S. qualifies. But with this group, the messaging that's come out of this group, the messaging that Greg Berhalter has instilled in them, when you see the press conferences and all the interviews from the players, they want to win this game. It's not just about qualifying.
Robinson in a battle with Carlos Martinez.
they have belief in this group and in themselves collectively, that they can go out and do something that none of us have done before, and that's to win here. Now the road is a little bit more difficult, down a goal to start the second half off. But again, how do they respond now? How do they try to create some more clear-cut chances? How do they get Ricardo Pepi a little bit more involved in this game?
Not quite cleared away by Aguilera. This is Robinson who wins it back for the Americans. You go back to the days at Saprissa Stadium on a plastic pitch with a rowdy crowd and how difficult that was in a generation of, really a golden generation for Costa Rica the last several years, and all adds up to 0 World Cup qualifying wins in San Jose for the Americans so far. Kevin Costa. The throw for the U.S. and Robinson quick to put it back in play. As far as I recall, it was the first clear-cut opportunity Costa Rica had all game, and they put it away.
Yeah, they had a couple strikes from distance in the first half. One that started over the bar from Aguilera. He had another one that tripled its way into the hands of Zach Steffen.
There were shots that Steffen would be happy to deal with all game long. Here's De La Torre. Musa. Silky as always, Yunus Musa. Shot's going to be parried by Keylor Navas. One back by Jedi Robinson. Robinson and sails over the bar.
Navas has made a couple big saves, and this is a much better sequence by the U.S. They're sharper in terms of their passing, sharper in terms of their movements, and then their thought. Pepi makes up his mind pretty early. I'm actually kind of shocked the way that Navas dealt with it. In the end, it looked like it was a comfortable save. He punches it, parries it, and it's Anthony Robinson who picks it up and on his weaker right foot tries to get a shot on target. But that's just a little bit, the execution there is better by the U.S. It's sharper, a little bit more fluent in the way that they're moving off the ball, and then quicker in their thought process.
It was Musa who was the genesis of it. So Shaq Moore getting ready to check in for the U.S. Americans have outshot Costa Rica 11-7. I'm also going to see the introduction of Jesus Ferreira and, of course, young Gio Reyna.
I was wondering how long it'd be before we saw him. And, you know, Ferreira, he also must feel, you know, slightly hard done, because I thought he played well the last game. But again, maybe the minutes were a little bit much for him in terms of how he recovered. So we see him making a cameo now off the bench. But Gio Reyna is a player that I'm just really excited. I think I'm probably similar to most of the U.S. soccer fan base to see him back from injury. He's already in such a small window of time on the pitch, provided us with so many moments of just ooh and ah about.
I just wish we had a camera on you while he was making that slaloming Maradona-esque roll at the Azteca.
Oh my God. I just wish it would have, you know, resulted in a chance on goal or something, but it's a special player, high ceiling.
He had you dancing. It's a loose ball picked up by Gallo.
He had me dancing. He had the Mexican defenders dancing.
As Clint Dempsey said, he was chopping them up. As we approach the hour mark, Costa Rica 1, United States 0. A result that would still send the U.S. back to the World Cup for the first time in 8 years. In the end, it's all that matters. Typically more of a how rather than what guy. I like the artistry of football, but when it comes to the World Cup, when the stakes are this high, just get there.
Well, this group of players, we keep calling them the golden generation, they've been wearing a lot of pressure ever since the failure, because it's now, the responsibility is now on their shoulders. And for such a young group, I think they've worn it well and responded relatively well.
Tico's looking for an insurance goal here. Steffen spilled into the area. He does make an important block, but still some defending to do for the Americans. Back post, and the Ticos have a second. Sloppy at the back for the U.S. And on a second set-piece opportunity, Anthony Contreras doubles the lead for the Ticos. Costa Rica are starting to dream.
at what it means to that fan base. And it's another set piece. It's not the initial header. It's not the initial play. Zach Steffen should probably do better with this save. He tries to palm it, tries to get it 2 hands to it, doesn't do well enough with it. Does well with the second attempt, big body, but then it's just that second wave of attack. Contreras does so well with his run here. The timing of it, it's a little bit of a mishit, a little bit of misfortune there, but the timing of his run to that back post, being a willy runner, just putting himself in a dangerous area, the ball finds itself to him, and from that distance, he's making no mistake in it. You get another look at it from this angle. It's the contact there from Juan Pablo Vargas that throws off Zach Steffen. But then the reactions by the U.S. are poor. Miles Robinson actually ducks out of the way there, thinking maybe it's going out for a goal kick, and Costa Rica make no mistake with the finish. And as you said, do they dare to dream now?
Well, Costa Rica still need 4 more goals in the following 30 minutes to qualify. The U.S. with reinforcements on the way. We're going to see the introduction of Shaq Moore for DeAndre Yedlin, Jesus Ferreira for Ricardo Pepi, and Gio Reyna for Timothy Weah. Well, what does the U.S. seek to gain with these changes?
Well, Shaq Moore, I thought, did really well in his game against Panama. The way that he was a willing runner, an attacking presence on that right-hand side. I thought he defended well in his 1v1 duels, but just added a level of intensity in. Always eager to get forward. Giovanni Reyna already spoke about, and then Jesus Ferreira. He's a guy that drops deep. He's more of a false 9 at times, but in that last game, I think he showed the versatility that he has in his game. He did make the runs in behind, and against this Costa Rican back line has been relatively comfortable with a lot of the play just in front of them. So at times, can they figure out a way to interchange the front 3 and stretch in behind that back line a little bit to create space in the midfield to play?
Pulisic showing excellent control as he draws the foul. Free kick to the U.S. and composure needed. Costa Rica still a long way away from a direct qualifying berth. Again, 4 goals still needed and less than 30 minutes left of the 90 for the Ticos.
And can these 3 just provide a level of quality? Can Shaq Moore's service be a little bit more efficient when he gets into dangerous areas?
Pulisic delivers. Robinson resets. Gets it into the box, and he's fouled by Carlos Mora. And Mora picks up a yellow card. It's the game's first. It goes to the debutant.
And this is where the U.S. have to be smart as well. Playing these kind of hospital balls in to Christian Pulisic. He does his best effort to get himself out of the way. Recognizing that the challenge is coming in, he jumps out of it and saves himself a world of pain there. But having logged so many minutes already during this window, it's so important to make sure that he looks after himself, but also his teammates look after him in the way that they play him balls in dangerous situations.
While Kendall Waston is down, it wasn't under contact. He seems to be favoring that right hip. Saprissa center back, former Cincinnati and Vancouver defender, and it looks as though he'll have to be replaced. So Nelson Tejeda was one of the Costa Ricans getting ready to check it. Ticos have not made a substitution yet. They're about to make their first. It will in fact be Tejeda. Player for Herediano in the Costa Rican top flight. Boston does exit. You just wonder whether Daniel Chacon then slots into that central defensive role. Contreras gets a warm embrace from Keylor Navas, the goal scorer. Contreras doubling the lead 8 minutes after the opener by Juan Pablo Vargas.
And since he's been introduced to this Costa Rican side in qualifying, Contreras, he's done well for him. He's got 2 goals in just 4 appearances.
It'll be a double substitution. First up, Yeltsin Tejeda will check in, and following him will be Alonso Martinez. Kendall Waston, a warrior for the Ticos. 34-year-old now with 58 caps to his international career. Pulisic lifted into the area. It's a better delivery this time. Aguilera looking to lead the counter. It's broken up by Robinson. U.S. have used 4 of their substitutes. 1 still available. This is intercepted by Ian Lawrence. And Costa Rica have wrestled back control of this match since the start of the second half. After that triple chance in front of Keylor Navas' goal, it's been all ticos.
And they've capitalized on their set pieces. The U.S. has had an abundance of set pieces and just haven't been able to be clinical, sharp enough to beat Keylor Navas. And on the opposite side of that, for all the possession that the U.S. have had, Costa Rica have struck in the moments when they needed to.
Last 5 trips to Costa Rica for World Cup qualifying have all seen the U.S. lose by at least 2 goals. It was 4-0 the last time that they were in San Jose. They trailed by 2 goals tonight. Smart stepping forward of Walker Zimmerman there as he's interrupted Costa Rica's attempt to play out of the back. And his pass is intercepted. This is Aguilera. Martinez. From Navas, who's giving it away to De La Torre. This is Pulisic now, isolated near side. Christian Pulisic. It's an energized Ticos team, both in attack and in defense. The U.S. have another corner. How big was that 0-0 draw in Mexico at this very moment? Eighth corner for the Americans. Throw it in back post over the head of Musa. And it's Musa who's there to win it back. He was trying to square that ball in. Corner number 9 for the U.S. Just listen to the ovation for Aguilera as he comes off. He made his first international appearance. He's replaced by Douglas Lopez, who's on for his Costa Rica debut.
For an 18-year-old making his debut against the United States, that man Aguilera, he's done himself well.
Outswinger dealt with it at the near post by Martinez. Aguilera on his debut gets the assist on the 1-0. Here's Robinson. Just squeezes the cross in. Still could be on for Ferreira, working against Keylor Navas, and the foul whistled against Jesus Ferreira.
And Ferreira, knowing that he's the only player in the box that can really make an attempt on this ball, just tries to use his body. We take a look at the opening goal. Juan Pablo Vargas doing so well to just evade his defender initially, and then having a free look here. Good power on the attempt, on the header from close range, and he's able to put this side up 1-0, and they get a second not too long after to double their lead. Both of them coming from set pieces.
8 minutes apart. controlled by Reina. Was corralled by the Costa Rican defense. Gio Reyna, who Berhalter has said throughout the course of this window, has not been quite ready to play a 90-minute game at this level. He did play 90 minutes for Borussia Dortmund before joining the team. That took some recovery before the first match in this window, then got hit with that stomach bug that affected some 30 players and staff in Mexico. And by the accounts we heard, it was Reina who was hit the worst with it. Had bad fever, body tensed up. Less than optimal conditions for Gio Reyna to play a World Cup qualifier, but here he is, and the game is better for it. Pulisic calibrates. Floated in back post. Back in for De La Torre, just cleared away in time. Reina. It's a crowded 18, lovely pass slipped through. Trying to square it across the mouth of goal, still on. The deflection will take it out for another U.S. corner.
I mean, this is a different level of commitment here to defending by this Costa Rican side. The U.S. does so well to create this chance. It's good running in behind here, good patience from Gio Reyna. Finds his partner in crime, Christian Pulisic, does well to put the ball back into a dangerous area. The U.S. finally wins his second ball in the box, and it's Yunus Musa who gets a clean strike and keeps it on target. But look at the amount of bodies who are trying to cover that space that's been vacated by their keeper, Keylor Navas.
5 Costa Rican defenders between the shot and the goal. Flighted in back post, slightly overcooked. Here's Jewison. One of the things that will leave us wondering what might have been during the course of these World Cup qualifiers is Gio Reyna played the octagonal opener all the way back in September. Got injured, did not play again until match day 12. And so there wasn't all that much time for him to gel with the rest of the team in all of these important matches. Jewison on the front foot now.
And the other question that's come up, conversation that's come up around Gio Reyna is, where is his best position within this national team? Because you're right, in his absence, other guys have stepped up. Brendan Aronson, who's out injured, is not featuring during this window, stepped up, announced himself to the national team. Timothy Weah finally came back from injury and has done well on that right-hand side as well. But we all know Gio Reyna, the quality that he brings to this team. But a special player, but he can also play a little bit more central. Tends to come inside at times anyway and find those little central positions. So is there a time that we see him playing more as a number 10 with this national team? I think it's just another great option for Greg Berhalter to have. And maybe when...
Well, this was that adventure that led up to the goal as Zach Steffen comes off of his line, and flurry of chances for Costa Rica. And as you mentioned, that was a scuffed pass/shot that finds its way to the back post, and it's redirected by Contreras to double the Costa Rican lead. What a moment for the Ticos.
But I'll just finish that point there on Gio Reyna. It's great to have him in the team, and it'll be curious to see where Greg Berhalter feels like his best position is to bring up the best of him for this U.S. national team, because we all know he's an asset and he brings quality. Is that going to come from a wide area or a more central area?
Martinez trying to get around Robinson. Robinson stands his ground.
These are some really confident touches. This is what happens when you get 2 goals at home against the United States. You start throwing yourself a little bit, you taking on more challenges, trying to play with a little bit more flair to excite the fan base.
With an alternate squad, maybe there's something to this B team business that we heard so much about. For a very different reason, Costa Rica choosing to reserve many of their most important players who were 1 yellow card away from suspension. They know that even now, as things stand, it's the Intercontinental Playoff against New Zealand for the Ticos. This is magic from the U.S. getting forward now. Gio Reyna.
For Costa Rican coach Luis Fernando Suarez, I mean, this is, I think coming into qualifying, one of the big talking points for Costa Rica was, when is this generation of players who have carried this team for so long going to graduate and some young players emerge. Well, we're seeing, you know, what some of these young players have to offer to this team. So this maybe bodes well for their program going forward. Conversely, you know, I have to just keep saying that although this is a result that the U.S., a game that the U.S. wants to win, ultimately this is job done. If the result holds like this, they qualify for the World Cup. Still a good 15 minutes to play here.
The offside call goes against the Ticos here. A free kick for the U.S. Little classic look to Luis Fernando Suarez with the Chuck Taylor All-Stars.
Yeah.
Come for the football, stay for the sneaker critiques.
Always.
To your point, Mo, there's young and then there's a handful of debutants, which is what the U.S. is facing tonight in San Jose. Here's Musa. Rolled back by Shaq Moore.
You know, it's also an interesting scenario because for the U.S., when you're looking at a World Cup and
lifted into the box by Robinson. Ferreira trying to chase it down. Shaq Moore nearly gets there. It's Musa who helps the U.S. recover.
As the tournament goes on and you advance further and further into the tournaments, there's going to be games where you're eventually having to play maybe not at your optimal level, at your optimal fitness level. And how are you able to respond? How are you able to counteract that and find ways to still find that little bit of energy, that little bit of quality, a little bit of creativity to try to create a chance to get a goal back into a game and now make things interesting.
Less than a quarter of an hour remains to do just that. This is interesting. Keylor Navas needing some attention here, and just in case, it's Leonel Moreira, or rather Alvarado, who is limpering up. And it's actually important to make that distinction because Moreira was the one who stepped in when these two sides faced off in the reverse fixture. It was Moreira's own goal that gave the United States a 2-1 victory. And so in this case, it looks as though it'll be Esteban Alvarado to check in if Navas cannot continue. Navas has started every game in these World Cup qualifiers for Costa Rica in this third round. But he did have to exit the reverse due to injury, and it looks as though we have to do so again with less than a quarter of an hour to play.
That fan's not happy.
Well, who would be to see Keylor Navas come off, other than the U.S.?
And I'm curious to see it again because you get a look at that last chance. The running behind by Christian Pulisic, and he just puts the ball into a dangerous area. A little deflection off of Navas' foot. And maybe it's there.
It's that little extension, perhaps of the groin, from Keylor Navas, whose knee gets stuck on the turf. And so it will be the Herediano goalkeeper, 32-year-old Esteban Alvarado, coming on for his 23rd cap, but his very first of these qualifiers. As Navas exits. So Keylor Navas, perhaps his last match in San Jose, Costa Rica. We do have, of course, the Intercontinental Playoff as things stand and potentially the World Cup for the Ticos, but by his own admission, this is probably Navas' last World Cup cycle. And so we're watching a legend walk off the pitch for the last time in his home country.
He's been class for so long for this Costa Rican side, as well as with his club teams in Europe, the success that he's had, the success that he's garnered, the example he's set for so many young Costa Rican players to be able to dream about, you know, attaining such high levels.
On the other side, Mo, it is 2-0, but anything short of 6-0, we're celebrating at the final whistle.
1,000%, 1,000%, and it's a double-edged sword because these U.S. players, they're hungry, they're young, they want to do the things that we couldn't accomplish in our generation, which is to go on the road and get a victory here. You know, look, this game, there's still so much to play for. One goal could spark things, could change things. They just need that one moment of quality in that final third, someone to inspire something here to get them back on the right foot. But you're right, ultimately, the big picture, the goal coming into qualifying was to get this U.S. national team back into the World Cup.
And a little over 10 minutes remain to that goal. This is Robinson. De La Torre. Meanwhile, Costa Rica made another substitution with Jose Guillermo Ortiz replacing the 17-year-old Jerison Bennett, who was impressive. De La Torre. And it's Robinson near side. Off the chest of Luca De La Torre, snipping at the heels of Martinez. First touches for the backup goalkeeper, Alvarado. The U.S. in search of a consolation goal. Again, whatever happens short of a goal by more than 5 goals as the whistle blows against Gallo. The U.S. players are ready to celebrate as well. They just got a brand new Bluetooth speaker. Tim Weah has been designated the DJ for their celebration in San Jose.
And you hear some of the stories about this group of how close-knit they are. And I mean, to your point about Timothy Weah, himself and DeAndre Yedlin were suspended for the last game. And, you know, some of their comments after the game were that this U.S. team was up, was 4-0 at halftime. But when they went into the locker room, for whatever reason, it was quiet. And so they recognized that it was their job to get their team riled back up, bring some liveliness, some energy back into the locker room. But this is a close-knit group of players who enjoy themselves both on and off the pitch. And I think that'll bode well for why they can go on and be successful.
All smiles for Joel Campbell in the Costa Rican bench. This result not enough for them to qualify directly, but it is a morale boost ahead of their Intercontinental Playoff, which different format now. They'll go to Doha ahead of the World Cup to play that one-off in a neutral pitch. Foul whistled against Robinson this time. 8 minutes to the promised land. Hard to overstate just how important it is to return to the biggest sporting event on the planet. To do so directly. This didn't stand for the U.S. team with, I believe, going to pot 2 of the draw coming up on Friday.
Which everyone's going to be tuning in to watch. I mean, that's when things start to really get exciting. It goes to that next step, that next stage. You start to find out who your opponents will be. For these players, that's when the dream starts to become even more real.
Meanwhile, Canada trail a 0-0 in Panama. A result that would put them into pot 4. Jordan Moore is checking in for the U.S. Injection of energy down the final stretch. Christian Pulisic, the man who makes way. So all 3 of the starters in attack have been subbed out. Pepe, Weah, and Pulisic.
Yeah, it's good to get Christian off. I mean, he's taken an absolute beating today. After coming off a man-of-the-match performance against Panama with his hat-trick, first career hat-trick. Such an important player that he's been for both club and country. Came into this window in great form with Chelsea.
Pura vida, the motto in Costa Rica. They're enjoying their football at the moment. It's Alonso Martinez. Chacon started the match as a defensive midfielder, slotted into that center back spot after Waston exited. The vibes are good for the Ticos at the moment, but the result still keeps them fourth.
Yeah, and while the Oles are ringing around the stadium, the U.S. will know what this result means. They are back to the promised land. And although no one wants to be on the pitch and hearing the Oles and all that kind of stuff, when that final whistle blows, you'll see the celebrations. You'll see what this process, this cycle, the ups and downs, the bumps, the bruises, the moments of jubilation and cheers and success, what that all has meant to this young group of players. They know that they've inherited this burden, this responsibility more so of trying to right the wrongs of 4 years ago, and they're now 5 minutes from that, 5 minutes from celebrating, 5 minutes from the culmination of what CONCACAF World Cup qualifying brings to you.
The youngest, most promising squad we've seen for the U.S. perhaps ever. Will get a chance to test themselves against the world's best. Gallo draws the foul. It's been good to see Jordan Morris back on the pitch for the U.S. Two-time MLS Cup winner, now on for his 46th cap. The Stars and Stripes. Here's Chacon. Gallo. Tejeda. Defensive midfielder who's dropping in between those two central defenders. Very much a makeshift back line now for Costa Rica down this final stretch. It's well done by Morris to win it back. And the U.S. on his short counter, it's Luca de la Torre. Set back for Robinson. Reina. Jedi Robinson had it poked loose from behind. This is Contreras, the goal scorer. Douglas Lopez. It's opened up here for Costa Rica. And also Martinez. Martinez! Here's Stefan able to hold on.
You see Zimmerman, he's fired up. He's riled up still here in the 87th minute, still barking out orders. U.S. gets caught there in transition, and really good touch, really good first touch by Martinez to corral this in. See Anthony Robinson gets caught out there. It's a good first touch. Does well enough to get us the strike off. Can't pick out a corner. Comfortable save in the end by Zach Steffen.
Meanwhile, Canada has leveled their match in Panama City. Kyle Larin in the 81st minute with the equalizer. Has been sensational.
Man, what a story that Canadian team has been. Similar to this U.S. team with this golden generation, young players, young, hungry, talented players, going through a World Cup cycle for the first time for a lot of those guys. And you know, hats off to them. Congrats. And this U.S. team is looking to accomplish that same feat, to get to a World Cup, the biggest stage for international football.
You can count the seconds now in the 88th minute.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Another scrambles back.
I'm antsy. I can only imagine what the rest of this team on the sideline are doing. The guys at home watching this game. The guys like Weston McKennie, your Serginho Dest, your Brendan Aronson, your Mark McKennie's, your Matt Turners. There's so many names that aren't even featuring here.
In football terms, 8 years is a lifetime. To Austin and Keylor Navas, part of that golden generation Costa Rica players, and they still have some work to do in order to qualify for a third straight World Cup finals. It's New Zealand who they'll focus on next. This is Robinson. Kellen Acosta. Once more Robinson, swinging the cross into the heart of the box. Shaq Moore arriving at the back post. The foul's whistled against the Americans. Costa, who's the guilty party this time. the seconds tick toward the full-time whistle.
Oh, it's getting closer.
Catapulted into opposition territory. Sent away by Zimmerman. Not much in the way of stoppages either. You don't expect to add too much time to the end of these 90 minutes.
No, blow the whistle.
Torre trying to break it up. Zimmerman does. Reina. It's a flare to every touch by Gio Reyna. It's 4 minutes added on. We'll play until at least the end of the 94th. And the wait feels interminable. Corner kick for the U.S. Qatar beckons.
Gio Reyna is going to take his sweet time here.
Thinking about the 4 players that took part in that TNT match, the likes of Pulisic, Yedlin, and Costa, all starting. Ariola forced to watch this one without taking part, and what this will mean for them at the full-time whistle. Let's fight it into the edge of this 6. And Reyna will get a chance to rinse and repeat.
It's massive. It's massive for those guys who, unfortunately, couldn't get the job done the last cycle. But then it's also exciting for some of these young guys who watched this game and have been dreaming to have this opportunity to be in this position.
Reyna lifted in again, back post into a crowd. Last trip to Costa Rica, that 4-0 defeat turned out to be Jurgen Klinsmann's last game in charge. Bruce Arena stepped in, and the U.S. fell short. They're on the doorstep now. And behind the pressure here is the Ticos trying to play out of the back. Lawrence dispossessed by De La Torre. It's gone against Ian Lawrence here. The U.S. have a free kick now. There'll be no rush to take it. Just about halfway through 4 minutes added on. It's a goal in the 51st minute by Juan Pablo Vargas that broke the deadlock. 8 minutes later, on another set-piece chance, Anthony Contreras doubled the lead for Costa Rica. It's not enough to get them into the top 3. Martinez, sent away by Chacon. Nation of over 300 million waiting to celebrate, ready to punch their ticket to Qatar.
I'm on edge. I've been fidgeting around this whole time, just so excited for this group. So much potential, so much upside.
Line-splitting pass by Zimmerman, and the U.S. find the consolation goal. Cleaned up by Acosta. Here's Tejeda getting forward. Interesting that despite going up 2-0, Costa Rica did not change their approach too much. Still defense first, looking to break on the counter on occasion. Never really seemed to be going for that 6-0 victory, but rather just for the win.
And hats off to Costa Rica. I think they played this game the way that they saw fit in terms of being able to strike in the moments when they needed to. That gave them more confidence, more spirit. They fed off the energy of the crowd. And going into a playoff game, you want to continue this. You want to have this kind of result where
8 long years later, the U.S. is headed back to the world's biggest stage. Save us a seat in Doha. The United States are going to the World Cup. It's Qatar 22. Despite the results, it's a celebration for the Americans. The scoreline will read 2-0 for the Ticos, but the U.S. is back where it belongs.
And no one cares about the scoreline. It was all about the bigger picture in this game. Could the U.S. get back? The conversation after the emphatic win against Panama, everyone just kept saying, the job is not done yet. Well, the job is done now. Congrats to the U.S. Congrats to Greg Berhalter. Congrats to this pool of players for all that they've done throughout World Cup qualifying. They've inspired, re-inspired a nation of soccer fans who have been waiting patiently for this moment. The job is finally done now. We're going back to the World Cup with this young, talented group of players to give them a chance to dream, to do something incredibly special. And I'm so excited. I can't wait.
More than 3,000 days after they qualified for the last World Cup. 7 years and 9 months after their last World Cup match in Brazil 2014, a round of 16 exit to Belgium in extra time. The Americans punched their ticket to the dance. And the smile on Yunus Musa's face says it all.
It speaks volumes. You see the players celebrating there, although some of them are still a little bit distraught because they didn't get the win. I mean, that kind of speaks to what this group is. They wanted to come here and not just qualify, they wanted to win this game. But you know what the bigger picture is? That box is ticked now. Qualify for the World Cup. Now they can get focused and look at who their draw is going to be. But in this moment now, tonight, they can celebrate. They can celebrate. They accomplished what they set out to do. They've grown through this experience. They've gotten better.
And credit to Costa Rica. They win 6 of their last 7 matches. A 7-game unbeaten run down the final stretch. Brian Ruiz getting his plaudits despite not taking part in this match. His last competitive game in Costa Rica.
Credit to them, but credit to these U.S. fans who also traveled to this match. That's exactly where the U.S. players are going. They're going over there to applaud, to celebrate with them. Such a mixed range of emotions here. Some guys are smiling, some guys are still trying to take in the moment here. Although they lost the game, again, the bigger picture is the U.S. is back in the World Cup.
Finished the job, they said. Well, the job is done. The United States will test itself against the world's best on the world stage. The final score 2-0 to Costa Rica. It's the U.S. who celebrate in San Jose. For Moetu, I'm Andres Cordero. To go back to set with Kid Abdo, Charlie Davies, and Gucci Onyewu.
Dre, Mo, thank you very much. Listen, I get it. We're watching the live pictures. You see the mixed emotions. It's not the way that you wanted it to be, right? But overwhelmingly, this should still be a celebratory moment, Charlie.
Yeah, we're going to the World Cup. I know this was going to be a difficult game considering it was